Hello, and thanks for tuning into this real-world comparison of cycling HUDs, or heads-up displays. I was a pre-order customer of the Recon Jet smart glasses going back to about 2014. And I pretty much used them on every ride over those 4 years, but they've finally broken permanently. So I'm going to try the Solos, the Everysight Raptor, and the Garmin Varia Vision to decide which is going to be my choice going forward. I've had all of these three for about a month, and I've been rotating them as I ride each day. I'm careful to say this is a comparison rather than a review, and there's a few reasons for that. First, Recon Jets have been discontinued. As a spoiler alert, I know you can still buy new jets online through eBay or Amazon, but I'm definitely going to say don't do that. I'll get more into that as we go along. Another reason why this is a comparison is because the Raptors were provided to me as a beta tester. This particular version is not final or for public consumption. And finally, the Solos. These are a retail product, but they're pretty new. And so I'd expect frequent firmware and app updates over the next couple months so that a user experience for me now could be pretty different than in 6 months. I'm also going to ignore what I believe to be our bugs or minor software issues. For example, I'm having trouble with ANT connectivity on some of these devices, but I'm confident that those will be resolved in the future. So I'm going to focus on the differences in philosophy and the hardware that each company has taken to help you select which one is right for you. On the surface, these all do the same thing, but there's actually very little overlap between them. I'll start by explaining what a cycling HUD is and what kind of rider would benefit from one. A heads-up display is, in a sentence, a device that shows you valuable information without the need to take your eyes off the road. If you already know you want a cycling HUD because you've had one before, or you're just a techie and you want something really cool, then you can click here and skip ahead, or click to this time, and that's where I'll start the side-by-side comparisons. If you're still with me, I'll start by saying that I'm not an elite cyclist. Someone showed me Strava a few years ago, and despite being 235 pounds at the time and riding a $700 bike, I found myself taking some Sprint King of the Mountains. And while doing that, I was trying to look at my bike computer at full exertion and speed, which was difficult and dangerous. And if I was going to throw my money at something, I didn't want to throw my money at a bike because that wouldn't make myself a better rider. Whereas having information that I could act upon, I thought would make me a better rider. So I was in the absurd situation of riding a $700 bike wearing $700 smart glasses. Anyways, that's my story. If you can relate, a HUD is probably up your alley. Next, I'll say who would not benefit from a cycling HUD. If you ride purely on feel and you only have a computer to analyze your effort after the fact, you definitely don't need a HUD. Similarly, if you check your computer only every few minutes or you don't mind waiting for that data, you don't need a HUD. And finally, a HUD is not for you if you wouldn't act on that information anyway. So for example, I know my maximum heart rate is 184. If I'm already hurting, but my display says 179, I know that I still have some room to push. Or if I know there's a segment that I need to hit 1,000 watts coming around a corner or just out of a corner. And I know if I don't hit that, I might as well stop. Or equally, sometimes you have to rein it in. I'm not a climber, and so having that information unavoidable in my face helps me keep my wattage below a threshold so that I don't blow up. Anyone who uses Zwift will be familiar with the concept of having your data all on screen so that you can react to it. The first comparison I'm going to make is based on Physiology. This point alone may decide which HUD is for you to buy. Just like being left or right-handed, you also have a dominant eye. It's called ocular dominance, meaning that your brain gives preference to one eye over the other when it's assembling an overall image of the world. The Solos, Raptor, and Jet all assume that you're right eye dominant. If that doesn't match what your dominant eye actually is, you'll have trouble viewing the screen. The Varia Vision can be mounted on either side, and the screen flips automatically based on which side is up. So it's really going to be the only choice for people who have a left dominant eye, or about 30% of the population. You can search for ocular dominance tests online to determine what you have, or I'll try and put a link in the description. The next big item which will determine which HUD is best for you is what I'm going to call infrastructure. The Raptor and Jet are both standalone units. They are essentially Android tablets that have been stuffed into a pair of sunglasses, and that's a pretty amazing feat. The Solos and Vision are both dependent on another device. They will not operate alone. The Solos requires a smartphone with an app running, and the Varia requires a compatible Garmin device. There are pros and cons to both approaches. Keeping things really short and simple, the Garmin Vision is just a display. It has a simple touch interface to switch screens, but that's all. Your Garmin device manages all the data, connectivity, and processing. On the other extreme, the Raptor and the Jet are fully self-contained. They have their own processor, GPS, Bluetooth, ANT, and even Wi-Fi connectivity. So you only need to charge the battery and head out the door. The Solos approach is somewhere between these two extremes. They act as a screen, but they also have speakers and a microphone for audio features, which I'll explain later. The Solo also acts as a bridge for ANT devices. So your ANT power meter or heart rate monitor will actually connect through the glasses, which send the data to the phone by Bluetooth. Your phone does the processing and then sends the image back to your HUD. It's a bit of a convoluted process. On the plus side, it reduces weight and cost. My initial gut reaction is that requiring a phone is a negative. On the surface, I don't want any device to be completely dependent on another device. However, if I think about it logically, I never leave the house without my phone, and that's purely as a safety issue. I consider cycling without a phone to be as foolish as cycling without a helmet. So, if I have my phone with me anyway, for music or for safety, why not save a few bucks on the HUD? Well, the caveat to that is the Solos is only as good as your phone. If your phone GPS is sketchy, your results are going to be sketchy. If your phone has poor Bluetooth connectivity, your Solos experience is going to be compromised. And you can pretty much forget about it if your phone already has terrible battery life. Also, the Solos is not going to be for the Windows Phone or BlackBerry crowd. Comfort and portability, or essentially, which are most like sunglasses. Ironically, the two with the most going on inside are also the most traditional. Both the Raptor and Jet can be handled like regular sunglasses, and they take up about the same footprint. They also fit most like sunglasses, and I have no problem fitting them around my helmet, my sweatbands, or my headphones as normal. The Solos design decided not to add folding hinges for the arms. They also mounted the monitor on an articulating arm in front of the lens. I'm sure there's an engineering advantage to this, but those choices require the user to make some compromises in their lifestyle. Bizarrely, the Solos is also the only one that does not come with a carrying case. So I'm kind of rough on my belongings, and I fear it's only a matter of time before I break my Solos. The thickness of the Solos arms will also limit your options for headphones. Overall, I found all three to be comfortable and well balanced. At no point do I feel like I'm compromising fit or comfort to have a heads-up display. Now for the vision. For portability, it can't get any smaller or easier to transport than this. As a starting point, they will be as comfortable as your existing glasses because they use your existing glasses. They come with two clip mounts and various size heavy-duty elastics. I personally don't mind leaving the clips on when I'm not cycling, but you may be more style conscious than me. The vision is, however, not at all balanced. Perhaps because my glasses are ultra thin and light, they definitely droop down on one side. I get used to it, but it's annoying for the first 15 minutes of any ride. Okay, now we're getting into the good stuff. 4 years ago, I would have argued that the Recon Jet was a heads-up display. However, the Everysight Raptors have taught me the error of my ways. Of all these units, the Raptors are the only true heads-up display. The Raptor parent company has built heads-up displays for military, and that expertise has trickled down to you. If you look at these glasses, you'll see a transparent but slightly reflective spot on the right side. The screen is projected there, directly in front of your field of view, and you can look through the screen and everything beyond it. It's very cool as long as you run or ride or do anything with your head predominantly upright. Unfortunately for me, I keep my head tilted low while I'm on a bike. I've never really noticed that before, but I basically keep my eyes just below the bridge of my helmet. So as I tilt my head forward, that reflective spot drops lower and lower in my field of view, and in effect, I have to gaze down to see the display. But this is the purpose of beta testing, and Everysight is aware of the effect while riding in an aggressive position. It can't be changed by software, and I'm told they're working on a redesign. I'll say the other devices simulate the effect of a HUD with a close enough approach. Using various methods, they position an LCD screen in your field of view. The Jet very simply put a screen here, in the bottom right corner of your field of view. It had a small mechanical lever for minor adjustments, almost like a joystick. I never had trouble viewing it, but it was very difficult to show other people, and most gave up before getting it. The Vision improves that slightly by letting you tilt and bend your monitor into your line of sight. This one's a no-brainer to see since you're literally putting a screen in front of your eye. To an outsider, it might seem to obstruct a large area of your view, but I don't notice it. Finally, the Solos manages the same effect by using a reflector at the end of an articulated arm. They call it the pupil display because it's supposed to be the size of your pupil, so a very small footprint while giving the illusion of a much larger display. I found the Solos display immediately, but I had to spend 10 minutes with my friend trying to get them to see the sweet spot. I don't necessarily think it's finicky so much as most people won't immediately know what they're looking for or supposed to see. One benefit of the Solos is they can be moved easily and often. So I raise the display when I go into the aero bars and keep the display on my horizon. Now you may think that's possible with the Vision, but it really isn't. Due to the firmness of the Vision mount and the fact that you're actually bending the arm here, it's not actually easy to move. So the Vision should be considered stationary once you find the sweet spot. One last comment is visibility. Since the Raptor screen is transparent, the background contrast is always going to change. Sometimes you're looking at a dark car, sometimes a light car. I've left the house before dawn and returned after daylight. You can easily adjust the brightness, but there will be times when the legibility of the display just isn't optimal. Meanwhile, the Vision, Solos, and Jet are not true heads-up displays, so they have the benefit of having white letters against a black screen for consistent fixed contrast. The Raptor, Vision, and Jet all use a form of touch control on the side of the device. You have the option of swiping left, right, and tapping. The Raptor and Jet get a little bit more complex because they have fancier menus and options, and appropriately they add swiping up, down, and double tapping. The Raptor also has the option of a bar-mounted Bluetooth remote control, and this is a pretty cool option. The Raptor also gives the option of essentially a touchpad when you're connected to the phone, so they've really tried to think of everything. Interactions with the Solos are pretty limited via the glasses. There's an enter/power button and an all-purpose up-down button. That controls a few things like changing the display and music. Both the Raptor and Solos offer voice control, which I'll get into later. So what can you see on these displays? The Solos, Vision, and Jet basically break the screen into your choice of 1 to 4 metrics, or they should. At the moment, Solos only shows 2 metrics at the same time. I'm told that the requests are coming in and they're working on that. That's promising, but odd since their prototype screen circa 2016 actually shows 4 points of data. Anyways, you could have your choice of a single full screen like heart rate with big numbers and a graph, or you can share the screen with other things like power, cadence, and speed. Once again, the Raptor flies alone with its approach. Because you're supposed to look through the Raptor display, they've arranged 5 metrics all around the perimeter of their screen. You can customize what those measurements are, and they also change color depending on how hard you're working. The center of the screen of the Raptor is where it gets fun, and that segues me into navigation. Swiping forward on the Raptor fills the center of your screen with a map. You have various zoom levels, and it's useful when you're exploring a new area, or it keeps you from going down a dead-end street. Using the app or website, the Raptor will accept programmed routes, and at that point, the map screen highlights your route, and you can swipe again to see the elevation profile. I thought that was pretty cool because it shows you where you are live and what's in store for you coming up. The Raptor also has a unique navigation arc. This appears when a route is programmed and provides turn directions without actually needing to see the full screen map. The Solos does not currently support on-screen maps, but it does have one standout feature. It is the only device that lets you simply enter an address. This would be particularly useful for commuters, couriers, but also anyone who likes to make detours. For example, let's say you're on a ride and you hear about a great bakery, or there's a scenic attraction. As long as you have an internet connection, you can just enter your new destination and Solos will calculate the route for you. This is really something we take for granted in our cars, but it's not available on a bike. For the Vision, if your Garmin device accepts routes, you can get navigation notifications. However, despite seeing the map on the Fenix 5X screen, that does not project to the Varia display. Instead, you can see a compass and a bearing number. For navigating, you get very basic pop-ups when you need to turn. There's no countdown to when you need to turn, and I very easily ignored or missed them entirely. Using the Jet, you can swipe to get a full screen map. Be warned that you have to download those regional maps from the legacy Recon website, and that could close shop at any time. For my use over the years, I would occasionally check the map, but I never tried a pre-programmed route. The Raptor and Jet glasses both have integrated cameras that record photo and video. The Raptor is much higher quality, as one would expect with 4 years of technology progress. I do actually use the photo feature frequently. It's nice just to double tap to get a picture on a whim. Great if it turns out, delete if it doesn't, and you're obviously no worse off. But it's much easier than trying to manage a camera while riding. The Raptor can record HD video that can be stabilized afterwards on your computer, and you can also overlay the information from your ride, as you've seen in this video already. The Raptor and Solos offer voice control. You can control anything from display brightness to taking a photo to switching metrics. I'm personally not one to see this as a must-have feature. I personally feel like a bit of a dork calling out commands to my glasses while on a group ride. I might use the voice features while I'm alone, but I'm still more likely to reach for the controls. So I didn't test the voice feature very much. While talking audio, the Solos can act as headphones to play music from your phone. They include proprietary earbuds that plug into the Solos USB port. As you would expect, the sound quality is good enough, but will fall short if you invested in high-end headphones that no longer fit over the Solos frames. As standalone units, the Raptor and Jet both have internal memory that you can add music to. You can also connect Bluetooth headphones directly. This is a plus for anyone who wants to leave their phone at home. It's an option to have, but I've already said I think it's foolish to leave your phone at home, and it's where I keep all my music anyway. The Solos also has another unique feature with group chat. In theory, anyone with a Solos can verbally chat with other people during their ride. Unfortunately, this isn't a feature I can test because I don't know anyone else with a Solos. I think there are too many variables for me to systematically test battery life. In order to have an apples-to-apples comparison, I'd have to disable features on certain devices to cater to the lowest common denominator. And if I do that, then the battery test isn't really accurate for anything, because you'll never ride with just the basics. I can say anecdotally, you need to change batteries on the Jet every 2 hours. For the Varia Vision, I've only charged the battery once when I got it, and I've been out for 5 rides, and it's still a quarter full. I forgot to charge the Solos once and managed a second ride before getting a low battery warning. Blind guess, maybe 5 hours of total riding time. For the Raptors, I've been inadvertently diligent about keeping them charged, so I can't say when they run out. What I can say is I went out for a 2.5 hour ride and the battery icon didn't catch my attention, which I think it would have if it was below half. So I'll just quote the manufacturer specs for all these products, and you can just keep that in mind as a best case scenario. I doubt this is recommended by the manufacturer, but you can use the Raptor, Solos, and Jet while plugged into a USB power bar. So you can extend battery life indefinitely, and it's something I resorted to on the Jet. Be warned though, you can easily damage the USB port with a bump. As I'm still at least 20 pounds over where I could be as a cyclist, I don't sweat an extra gram here or there, so I'm not going to weigh these. I'll just quote the manufacturer data. At the time I made this video, the Garmin has by far and away the most options for metrics. This makes sense since Garmin has had ample time to add features to previous devices and just carry them forward. So Solos, Raptor, and Jet will connect to basics like speed, cadence, power, and heart rate. However, the Garmin also connects and displays data from electronic shifters and dual-sided power meters. It's a matter of time and faith to see if those are added to Solos and Raptor. I can keep my fingers crossed, but I'd be very surprised if either added shifter data due to the small audience of riders who, A, have the device at all, and B, want to see this information live, even though I do. In a similar vein to metrics or third-party apps, the Recon Jet had some really cool features added by other users. For example, there was an app for pilots, there was an app for sailing, and I particularly liked one app that would monitor my performance and tell me when to eat or drink while on a ride. The Jet even had an app that would not only control GoPro cameras, but also see the image live on the screen. The team at Everysight say the Raptor will have option for third-party apps, so you may find similar amazing features. The Raptor and Solos both have training, coaching, or workout features. It's something I have not used or would use. As such, I won't bother testing them because my opinion won't mean much. So, anyone who has watched this whole thing must be thinking the Recon Jet seems like a good option. Indeed, I expected the new players to have big advantages over a 4-year-old product. Given the option, I would replace my Recon Jet. So what's the problem? Reliability. I went through half a dozen units under warranty. One was dead on arrival, another had a chipped screen, and another failed after only one ride. For the other 3, a poor design meant sweat seeps into the electrical connections. I was rusting out the proprietary lenses faster than Recon could replace them. I became their guinea pig as we tried all manner of fixes, including rubber O-rings, rubbing alcohol, and dielectric grease. So without a factory warranty, the Jet is money down the toilet. The remaining 3 are so different that they don't actually compete with each other in my opinion. Your choice will be very clear depending on your circumstances. First, the Garmin Varia Vision. This was a late addition for me. I was absolutely not going to buy a Garmin bike computer just to get the Vision system. I only discovered by accident that it was compatible with my Fenix 5X watch. So, the Varia Vision will be your choice if you already own a compatible Garmin device and are looking for the cheapest way into a heads-up display. It will also be your choice if you're left eye dominant or metrics really matter to you today. If your Garmin computer can record it, the Vision can show it to you. My main display shows power, heart rate, cadence, and gearing because those are things I can control. The Solos is financially the middle tier. This is a solid option if you always ride with a high-quality Android or Apple phone. It currently has the fewest display options, but I expect that to change. The point-to-point navigation and group chat are niche features, but could be a deal maker if useful to you. And finally, the Everysight Raptors easily justify their extra cost because they are self-sufficient, have a camera, and have a true heads-up display. This beta model is largely good to go, and they will be amazing if the developers are dedicated to maxing out its potential. In theory, they could match feature to feature what is on all the other devices. One caveat for the Raptors is if you regularly ride in an aerodynamic position. You'll want to confirm where the display sits on the final retail product when it's launched. For pricing, there are already promotions which complicate things. Pre-ordering the Raptor makes them the same price as the Solos, but if you buy the Solos at the right time, they've had 20% off sales that include a shirt. I hope this helps you decide which one is right for you. I really like to see more of these on the road.